Hi, I'm Annemarie with Speak Confident English, and welcome to this week's Confident English lesson. Today, I'll be answering a question that I received by email just a few weeks ago. In that email, Ahmad said, "Hi, Annemarie, thank you very much for your emails and classes in English. You're super welcome. But I would like to hear from you on how to talk about the winter season. I don't have good words to use when I speak about it. For example, the positive points." Ahmad, that was a great question, and I love it for two reasons. Number one, my goal is always to help you have the language you need to speak with confidence and to speak naturally in English. So, if you want to talk about the winter season more easily in English, more naturally, then I'm excited to help you do that. And number two, where I live, it is the dead of winter. So it's the perfect time to talk about this subject. The dead of winter. That expression might give you an idea of how some people feel about the winter season. This idiom means to be in the middle of winter, when it is the coldest, darkest period of the year. And for many, this idiom describes how the winter looks and feels. So for those of you who right now do not live in a country with a winter season, maybe you're in Australia, New Zealand, Brazil, Argentina, and maybe you're wondering, right now, it's the middle of summer, so could you say it's the dead of summer? Absolutely not. We never use that expression when we're talking about the summertime. Summer is full of life and warmth. Everything is in bloom. So instead, we say the height of summer. So for those of you in the southern hemisphere where it's warm and wonderful right now, you are experiencing the height of summer, while many of us up north are in the dead of winter. Now, of course, there are many people who love the winter season. They find it invigorating and full of activities. And then there are others, like me, who are simply waiting for the season to pass. Now, as I said, there are people who really love the winter season, like my husband. For them, the winter is a time full of exciting sports, and the winter chill gives them a bolt of energy. A winter chill is a feeling of being really cold, and often you're shivering. Shivering is that uncontrollable movement or shaking of your body when you're really cold. And some people like that winter chill. Why? I have no idea, but again, for them, it sparks life and invigorates them. Now, there are a couple of other ways we can talk about the feeling of cold air in the winter in a more positive way. For example, we might say that the air is brisk or the air is crisp. In the last few years during the winter season, Americans have become obsessed with a Danish word and concept. This word is Hyuga, and I'm probably mispronouncing it. If I am, I'm so sorry. Feel free to correct me. But this concept, if I understand it correctly, is focused on the idea of coziness, that feeling of warmth and comfort. With this idea in the winter, we think of warm fires, drinking hot chocolate, wrapping ourselves in blankets, chunky knit sweaters, and just being at home and comfortable. Now, a chunky knit sweater is one of those thick, heavy, warm sweaters that we wear on the coldest days of the year. This is the perfect weather for those lazy weekends when you just want to read your favorite book or do some binge watching on Netflix. For those of us who live in winter seasons with a lot of snow, We, of course, think of winter sports like skiing, downhill skiing or cross-country skiing. There's snowshoeing, sledding, and even snow kiting. Snow kiting. Have you ever heard of snow kiting? To be honest, I had never heard of it until very recently, but it has become my husband's brand new hobby. Snow kiting is when you use a board like a snowboard and you glide across the snow or the ice using kite power. All of these sports provide a great workout, of course, and they often give us an adrenaline rush. An adrenaline rush is that sudden burst of energy and excitement that we get with an increase of our adrenaline hormone. And some people love that feeling. They can't wait for the winter to arrive so they can dive into those favorite sports and get that adrenaline rush. And then you have people like me who prefer to just stay home in that cozy feeling and wait for the winter to end. For those who don't like the winter season because the days are so short and dark, they might find the winter season to be very bleak. It means empty or barren, to not have any warmth or life. And we're always jealous of people who live in that southern hemisphere where it's the height of summer. For us, that winter chill doesn't feel invigorating or full of energy. Nope. Instead, for us, it might feel raw, biting, or harsh. These are all words that we use to describe a feeling that is really unpleasant or something that makes us feel uncomfortable. For example, a biting wind or a harsh wind. And speaking of wind, for us it isn't crisp, giving us that burst of excitement. Instead, the wind for us is howling. A howl is the sound that a dog makes when it's injured or in pain. So if you imagine the wind sounding like that, it has that strong sound and we can almost hear how cold the wind feels. And on those coldest days, you have to brace yourself just to go outside. To brace yourself means to prepare or get ready to do something that is really unpleasant or challenging. Now, of course, people who don't like the winter can still appreciate those days when you look outside and it's just a winter wonderland. A winter wonderland is a scene when you look outside after hours of snowfall and everything is white and perfect, beautiful, and it's so quiet. But then, unfortunately, those huge snowplow trucks come and they plow the snow from the roads. They remove the snow, and at that point, the snow becomes dirty and brown and slushy. Slush is melted or watery snow. And finally, yes, even though we don't like the winter, we do also appreciate that idea of Hyuga, that warmth and comfort, sitting somewhere cozy and wonderful. But we only do it because we have to. We stay inside to avoid freezing our butts off, and we try to find the new best Netflix series for some binge watching. Side note, right now, my favorite Netflix show is The Crown. If you haven't watched it yet, I definitely recommend it. But let's get back to the winter. Now that you have some language to talk about the good, the bad, and a little bit of the ugly during the winter season, I want to hear from you. I want to know what you love or don't like so much about the winter season where you live. As always, I do have some challenge questions for you in the online lesson. So after you watch this video, take the opportunity to practice using some of this new language, learn from others in the Confident English community, and even get feedback by sharing your thoughts and ideas in the comments section at the bottom of the lesson. And if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to give it a thumbs up on YouTube or share it on Facebook. Those are two perfect ways to let me know that this lesson was useful to you. And with that, no matter where you live, I hope that you have a wonderful week full of warmth and comfort. And I'll see you next week for your confident English lesson.